Hello, we're going to be making a Hello, today we are going to be making a vegetable and brown rice soup. So first of all, we just need to prep all of our vegetables, which is going to give us the bulk of our soup, but also the things like the garlic, the onion and the celery, which is going to give you your flavouring in your soup. So I'm going to start with garlic. I've got 3 here just because they're not the biggest cloves of garlic. But you can have 2 bigger ones. If you like lots of garlic, add more. Less if you don't like it too much. Okay. So then just chop it really finely into thin bits. And I'll just go along, make it into little chunks as well. Do my other 2 cloves in a minute, and we're going to chop our celery. So just chop the ends off if they're a little bit dry, if they aren't on a whole plant, and then chop it into nice little pieces like this. Some people like to chop those really small. I suppose it depends how you like it, whether you want it more chunky or a bit smaller, depending on the size of your children's mouths as well. And also if you're trying to get veg or things in that they may not like. Okay, so there's our celery. We've also got an onion here. This is kind of the basis of most recipes. I asked on one of my previous videos when I was making the risotto to tell me how to do it without making you cry. Someone said don't cut the root off until the very end, but I'll see how I go. I heard once that you should hold a matchstick in your mouth. So there we go. And just cut it off just before you need to chop it, in less time as possible. So you can do it into thin bits like this, or if you want you can dice it into little squares, or if you prefer it you can do more wedges with it, again depending on your own preference. Okay, chop that again in a minute. So we've got 2 parsnips. Parsnips are a good root veg to have in there. They are quite creamy once they're cooked as well, so you can give it a nice texture. Normally you see it in sticks, but we're going to cut it into little chunks today to go into our soup. Just little chunks like this. Cut that into 4. And then in half again to get those chunks. And as I've worked further down to the wider part, I'm just going to cut that into 6 this time, just to try and get them all a similar size, so that when we cook them, we know that they're all going to be cooking at the same time and be ready and soft at the same time. So yeah, you need 2 parsnips, I'll do my other one in a sec, and 3 carrots as well. So with the carrots again, similar size, nice staple veg. Both parsnips and carrots are cheap. If you want to add more veg in, you can, and you can just adjust it depending on what your family likes or your own personal taste. So yeah, just going to chop this into little chunks like so. All 3 carrots. So ready. When you put your veg in as well, and you've got different veggies, they all need to be roughly the same size to help them cook, so that when all the parsnip goes in, it will be ready at the same time. And with the carrot, so carrot takes longer than parsnip to cook, and sweet potato takes less time than parsnip as well. So carrots will always need to go in first, followed by the parsnips, followed by the sweet potato, or whatever veg you're using, but just work out what it is first. And we're putting the brown rice in as well. And brown rice takes longer than white rice to cook, but is better for you. It's very filling, and I've added that just because it can make it more of a whole meal if you've got the rice in there as well, rather than maybe a snack for lunch. Not snack, but a lighter lunch, I should say. So again, if you get any black bits like that on your sweet potato, you can just cut that out, but still use the rest of it and cut round it. Just if there's a black bit or a brown bit in it. It doesn't mean the whole sweet potato can't be used. Just putting that into chunks. There we go. And once I've cut the rest of each of the veg, all of the prep is ready. Okay, so I've prepped all of my veg, which is just here. So 3 carrots, 2 parsnips, 2 small sweet potatoes or 1 big one, an onion, 2 or 3 sticks of celery, and my 2 or 3 cloves of garlic. So now I've got a little bit of oil in my pan here. I don't know if you can just see it on the bottom. And we're just going to start off by gently cooking our onions to make them sweat. So that just means that when they start to produce a little bit of liquid. So I'll put them in there. Just give them a mix round so they're coated in. And then you just want to leave them for about 3 minutes to cook, occasionally stirring it, just so they don't stick to the bottom of the pan. And you want it on a medium heat, so I'm just going to turn it up a little bit. There we go. If you've got a lid, it's better because it helps to keep all the liquid and the flavour in there. So if you've got the lid, put it on, and then all of the heat and the fluid just kind of rotates around inside there rather than coming straight out and up into the extractor fan. Okay, so my onions are just cooking away in there. Whilst that's cooking, I'm just going to get my stock ready. So I've got here 2 chicken stock cubes to put into a litre of water. If you want to keep it completely vegetarian, you can put vegetable stock cubes in as well. So I'm putting 2 cubes into a litre. I think we're likely to need a little bit more water, but we'll see what it looks like when it's in the pan. And then add some more if we need to. We might need to add about 200 mils more afterwards. So I'm just going to add these in. Give it a good stir once I've broken it up, so that it dissolves, because this is what we're going to add to our veg once it's all in a pan, to help the veg cook and also to cook the rice, because you put the rice in and the rice cooks in with the veg. So there's our stock just dissolving there. And also I'm going to drain my sweet corn ready and just open my tin of tomatoes so that it's all ready to go in. Okay, so my onions have been in for a few minutes and they're just sizzling away there. You can see they're starting to go more a yellowy colour from the white that they were before. That's fine. And now I'm going to add my garlic in. And we're going to leave that for another 2 minutes. Just so that's all really cooked and the flavour's out to flavour our soup. Because we don't want bland soup. Again, lid back on if you've got one. If you haven't, you can always put some tin foil over. Just be careful when you lift it off if you haven't got a lid with a handle on it, or even if you have got a metal handle, just be careful that you don't burn yourself. So my garlic's now been in for a couple of minutes, so we're going to add the rest of the veg. That's just slightly started to brown now, where they're nice and cooked. So all of the rest of the veg is going in gradually, so we're going to put our celery in now, and our carrots. Okay. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of the stock in, just to give it a bit of liquid. I'm going to bring the heat down as well. So just give that a head start of about 5 minutes with the carrots before we then put the parsnip in. Then again a couple of minutes and then we'll add the sweet potato. It just means that the carrots get a head start and then everything should be ready to eat at the same time and they'll all be soft. And we've got the rest of our stock here, and then I've just got my rice ready, my sweet corn ready, my chopped tomatoes and my seasoning, and it's literally a case of just every few minutes we'll add the veg in and then the rest goes in and you leave it to cook. So now we're going to add the rest of our ingredients for our soup. So sweet potato can go first. Just add that in. Give it a stir after you added each ingredient in, just so that they all mix together. and you don't get clumps of one thing as it cooks, because all the flavours will go into each other and complement each other, okay? So I've chosen to put sweet corn in my soup. So now I'm going to add the rest of the ingredients. I've chosen to put sweet corn in it. If you don't want to put sweet corn in it, you can put peas in it. But this soup is very good because you can literally chop and change most of the vegetables in there. As long as you've got in there the garlic, onion and celery to start, that's your base and your stock, and anything else you can swap around. So sweet corn is in there. And now I'm going to add my stock first, actually, the majority of it. So add the most of the stock in there, and if you've got a little bit at the bottom that hasn't dissolved, got a little bit of water just to get that dissolved before it goes in. So that's mainly in there. Now we're going to add our rice. So rice is generally 75 grams per person for a portion. If you're putting loads in the soup and you just want to add a little bit, reduce it, but if you're having it as your main meal, put the 75 grams in for each person. So I'm doing this for 4 people. Give it a good mix round. There we go. So seasoning next. So in here I'm going to put a good twist of pepper in there to help with the flavouring. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in, but not too much, because our stock cubes have got salt in them, so we don't need too much, but just a little bit of salt because it helps to bring the other flavours out. I've got mixed herbs here, so if you're not very confident with your measuring, use a teaspoon, and it should be a teaspoon roughly, or just give it a sprinkle over, which is what I normally do. And then we want to add 2 bay leaves in. All that flavouring. So now that all the seasoning's in, I'm going to give it a good stir. Add that last bit of stock in. There we go. Now you just want to leave this to simmer for about half an hour now, with all of that in there. If you have a look at it, it probably looks not the best with all of the different veg and everything in it, but by the time it's cooked and the veg starts to soften and mixes in, it will start to look better. And then we're going to take some of it out to mash it up to make it a little bit smoother, and at that point we'll add our chopped tomatoes in. But yeah, lid back on and then leave that for half an hour on a medium heat, so you've just got those little bubbles coming at the side which is called simmering. Okay, so our soup has been on for about half an hour cooking, and just for you to see there, looking like this at the moment. You can see the juice coming down at the bottom. So the rice isn't quite cooked. I just did a quick taste test, just lifted a bit up and tried it. So rice isn't quite cooked, so I'm going to add a little bit more water. So I said earlier we might need a little bit more than a litre, so I've just got 300 mils in here to add in. Give that a stir. And what we're going to do as well now is we're going to take a little bit of it out and we're going to mash it. Some soups are smooth, some are chunky, and with this one, it's going to be a mixture. So I'm going to try and mash some of the parsnips, carrots and sweet potato in here with the onion and the rice and everything, just to change the consistency a bit. We want to leave some of it in there so it's chunky. As you can see with the rice as well, there's a lot in there for the 75 grams per person. So depending on how you're thinking of having your soup, you might want to reduce that amount of rice to balance it out with the amount of veg. Or 75 grams of rice, but add some more veg to it. And I'm just mashing it. If you've got a blender at home, you can use a blender, but I'm just mashing it to change that consistency a bit. So I've mashed up all the veg in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour in, or spoon in even, just a few of the tomatoes. I've got some chopped tomatoes here. If you have whole tomatoes, just use a knife and dice them in the tin before you take them out. So just put some of them in there like that. And give it another mash. These should mash anyway. So just put it in there like that, or blend it down if you've got a blender. So we're going to put the rest of the chopped tomatoes into the pan with the soup. Give it a stir. So you've now added in another vegetable. You've got some chunky tomato in there too. Alright, chopped tomatoes are in. Now I'm going to add our mashed veg and mashed tomatoes in. Just making sure I get as much as I can back in. Okay. Give it a good stir around to make sure you get all of that, the different flavours and the different ingredients mixed together so it's not lumpy. Yeah, nice chunky soup with some grains in it so it's nice and filling, and also it's really substantial, so it's very much like a dinner, not very liquidy or runny. So yeah, I'd say check your rice every 5 minutes to see how much it's cooked, but basically that will be ready when the rice is ready, so check it out every 5 minutes. But I'm, with mine, just see how you go with yours, I'm thinking that's going to need another 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so our soup's been bubbling away for another 15-ish minutes. I've checked it a couple of times. It hasn't stuck to the bottom. So on here you can just see it's a real hearty vegetable soup with the rice added in. So it's ready to serve. I'm just going to turn the cooker off. So yeah, looks like this. If you want to have it more liquidy, because all the flavour and everything is in there, all you need to do is just add some more water to it. So that's our vegetable soup there. If you want to add more salt and pepper or anything like that, taste it before you serve it. The other thing you can put with it is, if you're having it, and some people like spicy and some people don't, serve up the people that don't like their spice, and then just add in a bit of chilli or paprika or cayenne pepper. Not cayenne pepper, is it? It's cayenne pepper. So you can add a bit of spice to it if you want to. So chilli, paprika, cayenne pepper. So if you've got people that like spice in your household, what you can do is add some into the soup. Paprika, chilli powder, cayenne pepper, or cayenne pepper as I have called it. You can add in, or Worcestershire sauce is also a good one to put in. So just sprinkle some on the top. Just a little bit, there isn't much left in there. Give it a stir before you mix it up so it's nice and evenly spread over. And then all I'm going to serve that with is some bread. So this bread I got off of the fair share stalls that are often around at the moment. So just any bread. If it's going a little bit stale, what you can do is have some toast instead. Just toast it and it'll be absolutely fine. If you sometimes get a French stick as well, if you just chop it into thin pieces, you can then just toast it in the oven and put a little bit of olive oil over it. So even if it has gone a bit stale, it's a way of still using bread. But yeah, there we go. There's our hearty vegetable and rice soup with bread.